This morning, I woke up with a very specific type of energy, and that is what I like to call book energy. Not reading energy, very different. This is the kind of energy where I want to go through all my books, and I want to move them around, or I want to organize them, or I want to do something to them. And in the back of my mind, I have been thinking or wondering, how many of the books on my shelf have I read? I think maybe a year ago, I said in a video that I couldn't care. I couldn't care less. I didn't want to count. I didn't know. And I think that had a lot to do with the state of my library at that time. It had a lot of clutter, a lot of extra books, and it was, it's big now, but it was, I think, bigger then. And it just did not sound like an enjoyable task. Anyway, so this morning, I want to go through, I want to count all my books, and I want to count the ones that I have read. I'm not going to write down like the name of every book or anything. I'm just going to take this nifty little pad of paper and write down all the totals and then add them up at the end. And it's going to be not that hard and very simple and a little interesting. I don't know what I'm hoping for. I don't think, if it's really low, I might be surprised. If it's like way under half, I think I'll be pretty surprised. But we'll find out. Let me lay out my little guidelines for this project. As far as the books I'm counting as read, obviously the ones I have read, and also anything that I have significantly perused. This distinction might be a little unclear when I say it, but it makes sense in my head. There are some books that, maybe a novel, that I read 20 pages and I decided, not right now, and I put it back. That is unread. I'm not counting that as read. But if there is an anthology, a collection of poems, a book of essays that I've read a few from, I'm going to count that as read because it's a volume that I have used for its purpose. You know, I needed that volume to read those essays. And so I'm going to consider that a read volume. In my head, I know the difference. I know which ones I've just dallied and given up on versus the ones that I've read something intentionally. So that, and I'm just going to go through my shelves, my main ones in my living room, my nonfiction in my bedroom. I have this metal shelf in the corner that has some books on it, a lot less than it used to, so that'll be much nicer to count. I have my cookbooks, and I'm also going to go through my little journal where I've written down all the books that I have lent out currently. And I will include those in the count as well. And I think that is all I need to say. Please like this video. I would love to see you again. Please subscribe. And there are some nifty links in the description if you want some discounts or you want to find a way to help me out. Much appreciated. Anyway, let's get started. I'm ready to count. I've got my notepad. Oh, I've got my pen. Come with me. So I started by making a little chart to write everything down into. And then my system for counting was a little laborious, but in a delightful way. I counted every row 3 times. The first time I counted all the books. And the second time I counted the read books. And then the third time I counted the unread books. And then I added everything together, did the math to make sure there were no errors. And I did that through my whole library. Those of us who have been true readers all our life seldom fully realize the enormous extension of our being which we owe to authors. We realize it best when we talk with an unliterary friend. He may be full of goodness and good sense, but he inhabits a tiny world. In it, we should be suffocated. The man who is contented to be only himself, and therefore less of a self, is in prison. My own eyes are not enough for me. I will see through those of others. Reality, even seen through the eyes of many, is not enough. I will see what others have invented. Even the eyes of all humanity are not enough. C.S. Lewis. I really love doing activities like this where I get to comb through all my books, because not only do I get to see my collection as a whole, but it also reminds me of things that I've read and sometimes puts new connections together. I remember that I had bought a second book because I had bought a second book by an author because I had loved the first one that I read. And so maybe I'd forgotten that I'd bought that book. But it just reminds me of things that maybe I haven't thought of in a while. And of course reminds me of all the books that I purchased one day because I couldn't live without them, but then have yet to read them. And it's always good to remember those books. Okay, so I just finished going around and counting all my books, except I do need to check which books I have lent out. Let me do that real fast. Okay, all right, real quick. Okay, now it's time to do some fun totals. Let me get a calculator because I know mental math is good for me, but alas. Okay, come here, come here, come here. Maybe I should have done a prediction before this, but I didn't, so too late. But, okay, let's start with this main shelf here. So this is mostly fiction, and on it are 342 books. And of those, I have read 189. Okay. And I have not read 153. My metal rack, it had 58 books on it. And I had read 37 of those and had not read 21. Okay, good pattern. So far, the red section's higher. Okay. Then of the random books floating around my house, there were 7, and I had read all 7. If I'm in the middle of reading it, I counted it because soon it will have been read. Okay, and then moving over to my bedroom, where we have the bulk of our nonfiction. I had 222 books, much less. And of those, I had read 109, but I have not read 113. Not as good in my nonfiction section, but I kind of knew that. I kind of knew that about myself. Okay, grand total. Currently at this moment, bound to change at any time. But at this moment I have 639 books. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I actually I don't even want to think about how many I had. Like over the past year and even over the past couple of months, I have gotten rid of a ton, like probably a couple hundred. It's wild. I think this is why I finally felt able to do this video, because for so long it felt like I had so much clutter on the shelves. But this morning I felt not overwhelmed at the idea of counting all my books. So here we are. Okay, so books total. I have 639. And of those, I have read 351. Of those I have not read 288, which means that I have read 55% of my library. But I don't think that's too terribly unreasonable. And I think we'll probably just go up from there. I think maybe a little higher could be good, because that's a lot of books that I don't know very well. There you have it. 55%. This is fun. Maybe I'll do this again in a year. Maybe I won't. We'll see if it changes. Anyway, that was fun. So good to see you here. Please like, please subscribe. If you are in the mood, count your books and leave below what your percentage is. Very interesting. And I hope you have a lovely day. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye.